Okay, hello. So, I'm going to do a series on what it's like for a Chinese learner to learn English. Why would I be so knowledgeable on this subject? Well, I have been learning Chinese for 12 years. And as learning Chinese entails, I've learned the grammar differences. I've learned why some people may be not able to understand certain points in English grammar easily. So I'm going to spend time the next few weeks, maybe one a week, maybe two a week, depending on what I have time for, picking up different grammar points that Chinese people or Chinese speakers have issues with when learning English, okay? Now, again, I've been learning Chinese for 12 years. Does that make me a native speaker? No. So I may occasionally say things wrong if I pull Chinese into things. Chinese is a very difficult language in that it has tones and the characters are difficult to learn. Grammar is extremely simple. Chinese grammar, Chinese vocabulary is all very simple. It literally, a shopping cart is just a push vehicle, and a car is a vehicle. And a truck is a kache. It's another type of vehicle. Anything with wheels, am I going German? What? Anything with wheels will have ch on the end. So Chinese is generally pretty literal, which makes it very easy in that sense. In the speaking and the grammar of Chinese, it's generally pretty easy to learn, aside from the tones. And of course, writing. Writing can be very difficult, especially if, to me, you're learning simplified. I think it's easier to learn traditional. I learned simplified first and then learned traditional later on. Yes, I can break it for you, honey. There you go. Okay, so I've been learning Chinese for 12 years. I live in Taiwan, which is a native Chinese-speaking country. They use traditional characters here. My husband is a native speaker, and I have been teaching Chinese speakers English for the last 9 years, okay? I originally came to Taiwan to learn Chinese 11 years ago, and I started learning Chinese in America from a teacher from China 12 years ago. So this gives me a little bit of a unique perspective, and I hope that this perspective can help you in your teaching, okay? So this is non-company related. This is just in general teaching EFL to a Chinese speaker related. Of course, there are certain things in teaching that can go across teaching all language learners, but there are also specific things that can really help the Chinese learner. Okay? So the first thing we're going to go over is plurals. Have you ever noticed that your students have a very hard time remembering to add S to the end of a plural noun? Why? Chinese doesn't have plurals. There's no pluralization in Chinese. They have all uncountable nouns. Now, what's the difference between a countable and an uncountable noun? As an English teacher, you should already know this, but let's review the basics. A countable noun is a noun that you can count. If you can count it, you can add S. An uncountable noun is something that you can't or probably shouldn't count, like water. You can count the drips of water, sure, but are you going to sit there and count them all? You're going to count all the drips of water in a glass? No, you're not. So an uncountable noun normally covers the things that you probably wouldn't count, like sand. That's why you have a grain of sand, 10 grains of sand, or things that you are not going to count ever, okay? So, why do they have trouble learning these plurals? Again, they don't have a pluralization. They don't have the idea of adding S to a word. They only have uncountable nouns. So in Chinese, they have multiple countable markers, such as 一个, 一太, 一不, okay? 一块. These are, 一 means one, and then each of those other words are the markers. So depending on what you're talking about, you will need to use a different countable feature. So if you're talking about people, you will say 一个, 两个, 三个. You will say 1, 2, 3, and then 个 for the counting for people, and then 人 for people. And then for something like a car, you will say 一部车, one car, 两部车, two cars. Okay, so you use 部. So depending on what you are talking about, you will have a different counting marker. And we do that in English too. You have 2 pieces of cake. Pieces. Okay? You have 3 grains of sand. Grains. That's your counter. Okay? That's how Chinese counts. Okay? They use these counters. They do not add S. Ever. So how are we going to teach the kids to use S? Well, at first it's going to come down to just constantly going over the rule. When we have 1, no S. When we have 2 or 3 or 5 or 100, we add S. And then you'll repeat this, and then you'll repeat it over and again in the sentences. 1 chair, 2 chairs, 3 chairs. Make sure you're enunciating that S, okay? Make sure they can hear it. It's very important. I have 1 circle. I have 3 circles. 3 circles. I have 1 circle. I have 3 circles. Make sure you are enunciating. After you know they know the rule, but you're still having issues with correcting them, ask. Say, hey, is there only 1 circle? And then normally they'll think, oh, circles, and they will correct themselves. But it's very important to enunciate. You need to enunciate the syllables. So I have 12 chairs, and 12 is so-so, but when you get into like 14 and 40, 13 is so-so, 15 and 50, they have a problem enunciating those too. So it's very important to enunciate those as well, okay? Enunciation is very important to a language learner. If you are not enunciating clearly, their pronunciation will not come out very well. So it's very important to break it down and enunciate well, especially when there are certain sounds that we make that don't exist in Chinese, like but we'll go over that in a different video. Okay? So you're going to enunciate, and if you need to, get up to the camera. Make sure you brushed your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? I just did because I knew I'm going to be up in the camera. Okay, so you're going to get up in the camera and you're going to go 3 chairs. And make sure they're seeing everything. Okay? 3 chairs. 3 tables. Make sure they're smiling. Do you know that you need to smile on certain letters? A, E, I, O, U. How do we sound those out properly? A, E, I, O. A, E, I, O. How do I teach that? Smile, A, E, I. You need to smile. For A, you open big, A. For E, you open halfway, E. For I, you open only a little bit, I. And then O and U are circles. And O is open big, and U is open half. A, E, I, O. Okay? So make sure you're enunciating those vowels too, because that's very important, or you'll get kids saying bad instead of bed, like my husband does. My husband likes to say, Angela Alonso, go to bed. They laugh at Daddy for that one. Daddy, it's not bad, it's bed. Okay? So enunciation is very important if you want your students to pronounce things correctly. The same thing when you're teaching the S in plurals. You need to enunciate that S. You need to force it out even worse. Okay? So I have 2 phones. I have 3 phones. I have 2 hats. I have 1 hat. I have 2 hats. Make sure enunciating and you're repeating. Unfortunately, there's no magic trick to teaching plurals. The only thing you can do is constantly repeat, and once they know the rule but they're still forgetting, remind. Oh, how many hats do I have? How many? They'll think. Oh, 2 hats. And make sure you're forcing them to like a snake. Where's the spider? I have a giant spider in my house. Okay. He's not above my head right now. He's over there. But yeah, I'm worried I'm being too active and I'm scaring it and it's going to like jump on me or something. So, okay. So I think that's all I can tell you when it comes to plurals. You gotta repeat, you gotta repetition, and then you gotta remind about the rule. Remind how many are there. That's basically it. There are other things that I will have better tips and tricks for, but with plurals, there isn't much. It's just repetition. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. If it is, let me know. If there's any specific grammar points you want me to talk about sooner rather than later, you can give me a comment or drop me a message on Palfish or on Facebook, wherever, and I will go over and prepare for the topic. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.